When scleroderma causes scarring, there's no reversing that. You can't fix it. There's nothing you can do to change that. I've been through a lot with scleroderma, and I think this is the worst.
I try to focus on the positives, and I don't have a lot of money, but we make do with what we've got, and it certainly has brought us closer as a family and as a unit, and I look forward to being able to raise my children and be there every day with them. I look forward to being able to be there with Stephanie.
I write my notes a lot. The 5-year-old, every day I get a new note from her.
If anything ever happened to her, then I don't really know what I would do.
I think that the hardest time is when you realize what you're gonna miss. And doing that, I think, I know Brian's gonna be fine. I know, adults, you work it out. I worry about my kids, and how they're gonna deal and what they're gonna think, and the things that moms do, and other people can help, but there's things that moms do. I have something called trigeminal neuralgia on top of it, which is one of the most excruciatingly painful conditions known to medical practice. It's the trigeminal nerve, which is by your ears, and when it comes on, it's like electric shocks in my face, and it's pretty horrible.
Illness itself makes us vulnerable, and nothing makes us more vulnerable than a serious or terminal medical illness. Senate Bill 128 is modeled on the law in Oregon that permits or legalizes physician-assisted suicide. So the provisions in the law are pretty simple. A patient who's given a diagnosis of a terminal illness, which in the law is defined as having less than 6 months to live, can go to a physician and get a deadly dose of a drug that the patient then takes home and ingests in order to end their life.
When people are depressed and threatening to kill themselves, we don't hand them a gun. We give them tools and the information they need to deal with their circumstance. And we help people. That's what we do with anybody that's in that place in their life. And this bill is doing just the opposite. We're giving them the gun.
Physicians are rejecting this as a treatment option. They don't want to be a part of it. They don't want to get involved in it. And I think that's motivated from a desire to give the patients the best of what we have, the best of what medicine has available. And this is certainly not it.
Because insurance companies are now going to not want to pay for life-extending treatments, but will offer to pay for assisted suicide. And not only is that going to influence a person, but for people that don't have money, it's almost forcing the decision upon them. And that's a big problem with this bill.
If assisted suicide is legalized, vulnerable individuals are going to be at risk. We can't ignore the economic factors at work in medicine. So we should look at stories like the case of Barbara Wagner or the case of Randy Stroop. 2 patients in Oregon, both of whom who had been diagnosed with cancer. Their physicians, their oncologists, had recommended to them a course of chemotherapy treatment that could have, in their physician's judgment, could have extended their life. Both of these patients received a letter from their insurance company, the Oregon Health Plan, refusing to pay for the chemotherapy. In Barbara's case, it would have cost $3,000 a month. The letter did say, however, that the insurance company would pay for the $100 assisted suicide pill. Now you might say, well, the insurance company didn't force them to take that option. But obviously, there are forces at work here that will pressure individuals and narrow their options rather than expand their range of options. And as soon as assisted suicide is legalized, it immediately becomes the cheapest and the most expedient way of dealing with difficult and complicated medical situations at the end of life.
Days that she comes over, sits on the couch and can't do anything else. But there are days that we get up and we gather around the table, we pull out the games and we play with the children and we make memories. And every day is a gift. So every day you have to just move forward and take it for what it's worth.
The only gift we have is to live for today, the present. That's the gift.
The thought of not being there that's rough. Hearing them laugh, watching them play, hugs. They're very loving. We snuggle a lot. You know, how many of those am I gonna miss? You know, my job as a mom is to help make it better. You know, to help them see the world differently, to help comfort them. And I can't provide any comfort for my children by taking my own life. I can help provide comfort by allowing my body to shut down naturally. And if things get too bad, I can allow the doctors to help sedate me to make it more comfortable while my body shuts down if it starts getting too bad, and then make it peaceful and die with grace. And that kind of death, there may be some dignity in it, but I don't find dignity in taking my own life. That's something I couldn't make peace with that. And something I wouldn't want my children to have to try and make peace with.
That I'm very proud of her about how she's speaking out against the passage of this bill. There are a lot of things that are wrong with it.
We can watch the historical progression and we can see what's going to happen in the United States if we decide to go down that path. So we can look to Belgium, we can look to the Netherlands, where this has been done for 30 years. Euthanasia becomes widespread, it becomes the norm. Once we cross that bright line, once we ask physicians to switch their role from becoming healers to becoming killers, this is where things take us.
Once you get that diagnosis, you see things differently. You feel things differently. You know, your perspective on life just changes in a totally different way. Your appreciation for the way things taste, the way you smell things, the way you see things, the way you hear someone's voice, the presence of your friends and families, you appreciate it, you love it. It's precious. And that makes life amazing.
Well, you can't just stop living. Like, you only get one chance to live. There's not really a second chance. Like, we all have a purpose. I think this was her purpose, to help fight against us, to give people faith.
Please welcome Stephanie Packer as she shares her story.
I wanted to thank you all for being here, for making this important.